what I like to do is look at it from a daily rate. How much money do I want to make at the end of the day, profit wise? And if I want to make $300 at the end of the day, then I need to, and if I know what my expenses are, then I add that to that. Okay, my expenses are 1,000. Okay, now we're at 1,300. And then my labor, if I have an employee or a helper, then it's going to be X amount. And then you work backwards. You say, oh wow, I need to do $2,200 in revenue today in order to come away with a number that I agreed on at the bottom. Welcome to Jobbers Masters of Home Service, a podcast for home service pros by home service pros. We are in sunny Las Vegas, and today we're talking about how to thrive as a new business. Part 1, operations and pricing. We have 2 great guests today. We have Shanique Stewart and Chase Gallagher. Both of you, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. Glad you're here. Shanique, why don't you tell our listeners a little about you and what you do?
Of course. So Shanique Stewart here. I am the owner of Clinique Cleaning Services in Toronto, Ontario, servicing the GTA there. I'm helping those in the home and commercial area. So excited about that. Started from being the cleaner to now just having a team for myself. So really excited to be here to hear from the both of you and provide great advice.
Awesome.
I'm Chase. I own a landscape construction company in the suburbs of Philadelphia. We do design and build, drainage, landscape lighting. 10 years in business and going strong.
Well, I'm glad you guys are both here. So let's get started. Operations and pricing. Let's talk about operations. What does our listener need to do who's in their first year of business to make sure that they start off operationally strong? What processes, what kind of things do they need to have in place?
I would say don't do what I did and try to cheap the things out. I find that I was trying to do everything manually, keep track of my clients manually, and it became like it brought a lot of anxiety. So what I would highly recommend is your biggest asset in your business is your clients. So if you don't know how to manage them, create retention with them, then you're not going to be able to have a sustainable business. So making sure that you're able to find a way to attain clients as well as retain them, having a system where that's going to help you be organized to continue to service them is like crucial.
Like a CRM, like
system.
Jobber, basically.
Yeah, like for
having
me,
a system that keeps them in a database of some
yeah,
kind.
for me, I was doing like Google Documents, and that wasn't it. So definitely.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what you were saying, my biggest mistake was not getting a CRM sooner, right? Like I was a small business owner. I had a little calendar I'd write my lawns in. I wish 2 things. I would have started a CRM right when I got started, and I wish I would have invested in a CRM that grew, like was already there once my company grew, right? Like I was doing just smaller stuff in the beginning. I wish I would have picked one CRM in the beginning, had all my client data from day one. And yeah, that's what I would have done. Cause if your software is right, your scheduling's right on your CRM, your software, then your operations run that much more smoothly.
Right. One of the things in the early days when we were using Google Calendar, one of my guys said, I wish I could just check them off each time. As the day went on, I wish I could just check them off. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. Then we found Jobber. Now they just check them off each day, and it's great. What other operational processes do we need to make sure our listeners know about in that first year, building because if you're sloppy small, you'll be sloppy big. Let's make that first year really foundationally strong. What do you guys think? What else?
Yeah, I would definitely say having a CRM system that connects with some kind of tax, like being able to make sure your finances are in order, like a QuickBooks, something like that, because your clients need to be in order, being able to manage your team, but then now you have to manage your finances. So that's also super important. So making sure that you're able to track your finances, your invoices, profits, expenses, things of that nature.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what you're saying, I would say knowing your numbers is huge. A lot of new business owners, they don't truly know what it costs to run their business, the overhead number. So sit down and figure out your overhead. And I always tell my students, bump it up by 15, 20%, because it's always more than you actually budget for that year. And if you're going to grow a business, you need office staff, you need, have your insurance, all that kind of stuff. So start with knowing your numbers, build your pricing off of that, and build a business that's profitable from day one, because it costs a lot more money than you think to grow a business.
I think a lot of our listeners, I fall in this category. That first year, I think a lot of people struggle making money that first year. I think that the mindset is kind of like, well, I'll make money in the future. I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started with my business. I don't need. Is that a fair approach, or would you say no? You need to make money day one and every day after that. What do you guys think about that? Is there a balance, or what do you think?
I mean, I think there's a balance to, like, obviously getting your first couple clients in the door, right? You need to do that, but I at the same time, it's like you can hurt yourself even more by mispricing your jobs. And like, if you're I'm not saying, someone's broke by starting their business, but like if you're already kind of, tight and then you misprice your jobs, it's going to put you 3 steps backwards.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Comes a point in my business where I began to resent it because I was overworked and underpaid. And I made that such a huge mistake. And I thought that, I had to just get any other clients, I'll price anyway, realizing the same thing. I don't like doing this because I'm not getting paid, I'm not getting compensated, or nor can I build a team because I don't have that.
Right.
So you really need to understand that. I think that, at least for me, you may be starting your first year because you want to leave the 9 to 5 and you think that $40 an hour seems so good, but that's because you're coming from an employee mindset versus a business mindset. And you didn't have to worry about the rent. You didn't have to worry about the expenses. You didn't have to worry about the lights and stuff like that, but now you do. So the $40 is not going to cover. You need to make sure that your pricing covers that labor, those expenses. And that's something that I had to learn the horrible way. Don't do that. So definitely understand that doesn't matter if you're starting your day 1 or day 10, you always have to make sure you're understanding these little areas of your business so that's covered. So
Yeah.
I imagine that both of you, like me, your pricing now is a lot higher than it was that first year. Would you advise people to start off that first year at the prices that we're at now? It's a big question.
Oh my gosh. The me person says yes, just do it. Go premium. But I don't want anyone to lowball themselves as well. I think that doing the research to still see what's going around in your market to be competitive, I always say don't be the lowest, but be really like snug with the highest. And you still need to, I always say, back calculate, does your prices still cover your labor, your expenses, and obviously your takeaway? Your profit, your expenses, and your labor. I think that doesn't matter how, conscious you are of your prices, those things need to be covered. And eventually when you start increasing your client base, you start increasing your confidence in your business and your value, you start getting more confident in your prices. But don't go low.
I just think that like as companies grow, they get better. They improve their services offerings, improve the experience their customer generally gets better and better. And so with that, the prices go up accordingly. So it's a $1 million question because I like to tell people, hey, don't start too low in your first year, but they may not be as good as they're going to be 3 years from now. And so the price maybe should start lower. What do you think about that, Jace?
I mean, it's the natural path of a business. You're going to start lower. You're going to learn. You're going to make mistakes. Those clients are going to be upset, and you're going to get better and better. And so, like you said, your pricing becomes more. And then as you build a business, like I remember 2.5, 3 years ago, I learned how to really calculate my overhead, and I realized I was really undercharging. And so I was going into the spring season. I had this whole team, manager, admin, all my guys, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to almost double my price. And I was scared. Like I thought we were going to go out of business. But long story short, I raised my prices, our service, our level, my customer service, leveled up to that price. And now every, that was 2.5, 3 years ago. Now it's like that. So I think there's a lot of fear mentality in business owners by raising their prices, but if you can just get over it and just go for it, that's what it's about.
All three of us have had high volume businesses at one time. Chase, you're doing more hardscaping now, bigger projects, but at one point you were mowing too. We had a lot of clients to serve in one day, like 30, 40, 50 clients in a day. How do you make sure that operationally you stay efficient from a scheduling, dispatching perspective in that first year? How do you manage those things?
Oh, I definitely believe it's a learning experience, 100%. You just don't know until you get there, to be honest with you. I have to be honest with you. But like Chase said in the beginning, the regret of not having a CRM system as soon as possible is going to be your biggest weight. So when you have that CRM system, you have a weekly check-in, daily check-in before the day, understanding what needs to be going on. I'm a over communicator. I need to speak to my team. I need to speak to my client, just ensure the timing, and also give grace because travel time is a different story in Toronto. So understanding that even in the operations, just already accounting for what may happen will help with a smoother day and being prepared, but also being aware of what may happen, mishaps and stuff like that. I think that will help with managing the days.
Yeah, I think, obviously having the right CRM, booking out your schedule. Like my business, we get rain days, we get that. So Saturdays, I'm booking out for the next 7 to 10 days and moving projects around, letting my clients know, hey, it's not Thursday, it's going to be Friday. And then I think it goes down, a lot of it's training, right? Like my ops manager just knows how we do things, right? Like you're going to send the crew to the house. You're going to stop at the nursery, pick up the plants, meet them. Those guys already have the tractor on site, removing the plants. And so it's like, it's training. And a lot of times it takes a while, sometimes, years to be like super efficient.
Yeah. Some businesses like lawn mowing, for example, clients don't care when you show up. I don't care if you come at 9 a.m. or 4 p.m. It doesn't matter. And so you can use the route optimization tool for Jobber with Jobber and just go in the best order possible. With cleaning, home cleaning, clients, you can't just show up whenever you want to because you have to go inside. We know that. And so in that first year, Shanique, how did you make sure, like what if someone booked you at 8 a.m. on the west side of Toronto and then someone wanted you to come at 10 a.m. on the east side? That's too far away. So how did you balance keeping your word to your client, but then also realizing like that's the worst possible schedule possible? Because backtracking all that. Any tips on that?
Yeah, like I mentioned, you definitely want to give yourself a grace period. Be realistic. If you are in a very high traffic area, you need to let your clients know that you do have like an hour grace period. So we typically say if we have a start time at 1, expect us to between 1 to 2 p.m. And I always like to call or contact my clients if there's anything that does happen, but that hour grace period does help. And then I'm booking, I always overestimate the time one booking can be. So if it's technically an estimate of 3.5 hours, I'm going to, let the client know that we'll be there for 4 hours, 4.5 hours. So then I can schedule accordingly. And then the next client have my grace period. Plus I have that like an extra cushion area. You just have to like oversee what may not happen. So that communication, that grace period really does help.
The grace period's huge. I mean, when the cable company tells me they're coming, they tell me they'll come between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Yeah.
But that's a huge.
I know.
And,
that's so annoying.
But if we can, I think in the early days, I think our listeners are thinking, I give my clients that time but I would say give yourself a window. Hey, Mr. Client, if I come an hour late or an hour earlier, is that okay? Yeah, sure, that's fine. But if they say, no, I really have to have you here at exact time, make them the first stop of the day.
That's good.
Jace, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the grace period, budgeting that in your schedule is huge. I think, one thing that helps us when we're doing estimates is like if we're running 10 minutes behind or 10 minutes early on the Jobber app, you can text the client saying, hey, I'm 10 minutes out. And they love that. I get emails like, oh, you guys were so, on top of things and stuff like an email came this morning. And so I think that really helps us, raise our value as contractors and home service business owners too, because none of the competition or majority of them are not as communicative as we are.
I totally agree. I've actually had multiple clients say like, you guys are so professional. Like I've never seen a company do this before. So 100% I agree with that. And like I said, over communicating, I think that having that touch base with your clients and just letting them, being honest, like we have snow in Canada. So when there's like those snowy hard days, like be honest, like we may be a little bit late, but when you have the communication or that text, like we're maybe 45 minutes away, at least they know, and be honest. Like I love that. That's true.
Yeah.
It's 2 clicks and it's done. So yeah.
When I buy something from Amazon, it tells me it's like, we shipped it. It's on its way. It's 10 stops away. And it's like, that's amazing. And that's what our clients are getting used to, that kind of communication. And when you're solo and you're in your first year, you can nail that better than you can ever in the future. 100%. Like do now what you may not be able to do later. That's how you build your business in the early days. Do the things that you wish you could do forever. Oh, Adam, that doesn't scale. So what? Do it now. Your clients will love it. And that's how you'll get a group of raving fans. You don't have to do it forever. Just get your bulk, like get your core group now. This is a great conversation. I want to pause for a minute to talk about Jobber. A lot of our listeners would think, you know what, Jobber sounds great, but I'll get Jobber in a couple of years when I'm bigger in a better company, which I think is not a good idea. What would you guys say to someone who says, I don't need Jobber until later down the road?
I think it's a big mistake, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I made the first 3 years of my business was not getting that software that grew with my company. And so if you're just getting started, the first thing you should do is get Jobber, get a software that will run your business, help you with everything that we discussed in this episode.
Desperately need a CRM system like Jobber. If you want to avoid the mental fatigue, having a business is already hard in itself. So having Jobber will definitely help with your invoicing, scheduling, client retention, really stand out to the competition. If you want to make business better, definitely need Jobber.
Mental fatigue is huge. You want to reduce as much as you can, and Jobber helps with that. When I started my gutter business, day one, I had Jobber, and I think it was the right call. So new users getting an exclusive discount at jobber.com/podcast deal. If you're a new business, you need to start strong on a foundation, and Jobber is it. So go to jobber.com/podcast deal and get that today. Okay, so how should our listeners balance profitability, pricing correctly with the competition? Because it's competitive. You can't just charge whatever you want, or you won't get any yeses, right? And so how, in that first year, when you're, in some ways, you're kind of desperate for leads, you're desperate for clients, you really, really want to get off the ground, but you also don't want to just spin your wheels and make no money. And so how do you balance that, Jace?
I would say, I hate to give the same answer, but it's like knowing your numbers, right? You need overhead expenditures to run your business. And I think it's being competitive. So like in my industry, we're having conversations at dinner last night. It's usually your overhead's 30% of your revenue. And so in the beginning, it's going to be lower than that, but knowing your numbers and not making it 60%, right? You're not, losing money. So I think knowing some metrics and then just executing on that. And there's a balance. There's no right answer.
So when you say know your numbers, know all the costs that go into, right? Like what exactly numbers, what are we talking about here?
Like your owner's salary, or maybe if you're just starting, you're not going to have an owner's salary, but do you have an advertising budget? What's your insurance to run your company for the year? Your car, truck payments. I mean, you name it, gas, advertising. There's
Materials
a list.
Cost.
Yeah. It's basically expenses that need to get paid whether you have work or not. That's what I put on my overhead sheet, and I need to make sure that's covered. And then you take your if you have laborers, what's your labor cost for the day? And everything I do in my business, I'm always bumping it up 8, 10, 15% because it always costs you more than you think. And that way we're building in little profit centers on top of your owner's profit. So, and then from that, you got your daily overhead, you got your labor. What do you want to make that day or that project as the owner? Let's say it's $1,000, my overhead's $1,000, my labor's $1,000. There's $3,000 plus my cost of materials. And in my industry, I had 10 to 15% on the cost of materials. And that's how we do our bids.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I would say for cleaning, when you're first starting out, you could be as simple as, I love to say, like the 3 factors you need to consider: your labor, which is like how much you need it to be taking away, your expenses, which your admin, your CRM, your Google, your advertisement, and then it's your profit. Like as long as you know that how much you're going to be taking away, how much you can just add on to each price, okay? Each client, about 5 to 10%, and then your profit should be made to 20 to 30. And then going back on your monthly and just determining how accurate you were when your takeaway is, that is what you need to consider. I wouldn't lowball to get clients. If you learn anything from all 3 of us, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. You do your market research. Don't be compared to the low. Be right underneath the high and learn how to sell and market yourself and just stand out. And I like how you mentioned like just the competitive advantage that small businesses have over the larger companies is that touch pace, that customer care, is that interaction. That's going to help you stand out. Just you believing that you care, your prices will be able to be that value. Like honestly, people just want to have a reliable service. If you can just match your prices, take away your takeaway, make your clients happy, it's going to build up. Like I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Can I add something to this too? A lot of guys on my Instagram, they're DMing me, what do you charge for this? What are your square footage pricing? And it's like, if you guys can take anything away from watching this, don't go, match your competitors' pricing. You need to know your numbers. You need to know what you want to make and price your stuff off of you. I don't pay attention. My spring cleanups are like double, sometimes triple of what my competition is. But I need to make that to cover my overhead, you know what I mean? So if you guys don't ask people what they charge, you will go bankrupt doing that. Figure out your numbers, price your own projects.
I totally agree. I think that there's a huge mistake in just pricing whatever your competitors are pricing. What I like to do is look at it from a daily rate. How much money do I want to make at the end of the day, profit-wise? And if I want to make $300 at the end of the day, then I need to, and if I know what my expenses are, then I add that to that. Okay, my expenses are $1,000. Okay, now we're at $1,300. And then my labor, if I have an employee or a helper, then it's going to be X amount. And then you work backwards. You say, oh, wow, I need to do $2,200 in revenue today in order to come away with the number that I agreed on at the bottom. And that's where the rubber really meets the road. It's like, oh, I can't cheat that. It's numbers. They don't lie. Okay. And instead of being like, oh, I'll make $1,000 today. Well, then you'll make $30 or whatever the number. Right. And so it really gives you clarity on what the goal is. Because if the goal's moving around, you can't make the goal, right?
If Masters of Home Service has been a game changer for you and your business, then we want to hear from you. Go leave us a review and tell us what you think. Help us build this community and level up together.
How would you advise our listeners in the first year of business to make sure that they aren't making mistakes in the efficiency? So like, for example, what would you say are some of the hacks that you learned that first year to make sure that your efficiency was better than it was the day before? What are some of those little hacks that made your business smoother, more profitable? Because efficiency and profit are cousins. Mm-hmm. How did you make your business efficient in that first year so that it was efficient every year after that?
Yeah. Document everything you do, document your processes. Like I did go with a Google route. So I copied and paste every kind of script, emails. I just can copy and paste to every single client. That made it faster. The moment I had a CRM system, I just copy and paste exactly what I want to say to each client. That just makes it easier. But learn from your mistakes. I think that in your first year, you think that your one mistake is it affects you to the point that I am the mistake. But that's not the case. Like you really need to take it as a lesson learned. And if you went to a clean and was like slower than you needed to, then you need to understand how do I go to the next home and bang it out faster than the last one, right? Learning from people around you. I always say like you need to tackle the most time consuming area so that you move around the next home. Okay, you messed up once, now you have to go to the next one, but document it. Your bads and your goods, document it so you can go back and reevaluate it and make sure you make it a better next time, essentially.
Yeah, systems, processes, having the right, not only team members, but suppliers, right? Having, stuff like that. My business isn't necessarily like routing, right? Like we don't mow lawns, but for instance, when we're doing estimates, my assistant, she'll route out the most efficient way to go for the 6 estimates that day. So we're not driving back and forth around town because I hate that stuff. So like that's a simple hack.
Yeah. Yeah. And it requires a little bit of training because on those estimates, I'm guessing you're doing mostly appointments. On the calendar, you have a time that client is expecting you. Yep. And so you do have to make sure that like when someone says, oh, you have a 10 o'clock, great. And you're like, well, actually, no, your location's not good. I can't put you in the 10 o'clock really because it's way too far away. How about 3 o'clock? We'll be on your side of town the second half of the day.
Yep.
And so learning those little things, a lot of times people learn that the hard way and just over time, but they don't have to. They can listen to this podcast and realize that, okay, I do need to be more strategic on my routing if I have actual time appointments. I'm thinking in the early days, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd developed a habit of filling up the trucks at the end of the day instead of in the morning. At the end of the day, get all your gas. You want to get home, first employee you hire, you build that into their habit of like, you fill up the truck at the end of the day so that in the morning, whoosh, straight to the hot. No more of the stopping. There's traffic. It's kind of a slow start. We'll just get some coffee and some energy drinks. And I wish I had built that into the culture of my company sooner. It's really hard to change. But there's hacks like that you can see if you really pay attention. And if you're like hunting for this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of if you're filling up gas, but packing your vehicle with your supplies in the night before has also helped me too.
Oh, yeah, totally. 100%. Get all your cleaners, all your sponges, your whole bucket, all that stuff packed out.
Hop in the car and you're out.
I love that. Yeah. I'm curious. Do you leave it in the car?
I do, but in the wintertime you can't because you freeze. But
okay, nice, nice. Give our listeners one more tip on, again, if you're sloppy small, you'll be sloppy big. That first year is so important of developing strong operations to make sure that you build and grow on a firm foundation. So talking about standard operating procedures, give me one really specific standard operating procedure that you either wish you had done the first year or you did in the first year that really scaled up as you grew. Anything come to mind?
For me, making sure that all my clients signed and reviewed the client agreement, like 100%. Because if I didn't remember to do so, or I just wanted the client right away, oh my gosh, yes, I got a good client. And then you realize that at the end of the booking, they're complaining about something that if I just let them sign it, they would have known that wasn't included. So 100% before you take the money, agreed to the booking, please don't be afraid to lose a client. If you do not manage your business correctly, you're going to continuously having unhappy clients. So go through the process of, this is what we do, this is what we don't do. You're going to sign the service agreement. You're going to continue this way. This is how the booking's going to go every single time.
I got to know, you use Jobber. Yeah. That's a quote you're talking about, or do you have an additional contract?
No, like a service agreement in regards to what are we going to clean, what we're not going to clean, what the frequent asked questions. Like we add a PDF to the invoice so the
Okay.
client could then sign off to that quote that this is exactly what you're going to get. This is the cleaning list. This is what we do not do. And this is what you can expect when working with us.
I
And
love that.
they need to all know that.
Great example.
Yeah.
Chase, what you got?
I think, to piggyback off that, it's like, if we're on site doing a $25,000 job and they want landscape lighting, and, my manager's always talking to clients, we need to get that estimate approved and or project deposit paid for before we're installing those lights, like work orders, add-ons, that needs to be approved. Every single project we do, I don't care if it's my mom, maybe not my mom, but I need an approval and I need a 50% project deposit. That's my thing. I've had some people bark at it or be weird about it, but for the past 5 years, it's 50% up front, 50% on the back end. If it's a $25K job and up, it's payments of 3. Collect as much data as possible. Every time someone calls, I am listening. Hey, what do you want? What can we help you with today? And then I'm almost not paying attention to it. I'm waiting to get in there and say, how did you find my company? Was it Facebook group? What Facebook
Lead
group?
source. Yeah.
Lead source. And I'm putting that in. So those are a couple things that help me.
Deposits are so important.
Yes.
I would say for me, I would agonize if I was in my first year again, my pricing. I would get my pricing figured out that first year because I think I didn't give it enough attention. And year 3 or 4, I'm still like trying to figure out, because here's the thing, you can't really scale a business if your people can't price. If you're the only person who has the insight and the magic book of pricing, you're the only person at the top, you'll be a bottleneck forever. If you want to scale to a big company, your pricing has to be clear and enough, and maybe even public on your website, so that anyone can price your services to a certain degree. And so I would just agonize and make sure my pricing was really, really hammered out pretty clearly. Shanique, Chase, this has been a great conversation. I'm going to try to boil this down to 3 things. There are a lot here today. So number 1 is start your one-off with a good CRM. All 3 of us did it the wrong way. You need to do it the right way. Get a CRM like Jobber and start inputting your clients in the very first day. It'll pay huge dividends later. Number 2 is really agonize over your pricing. Get it figured out. Figure out your pricing. Do not base it on your competitors. Base it off your costs and your profit goals, not what the guy down the street charges. Number 3 is make sure you're getting deposits for every single job. Make sure that you're getting a 25, maybe 50% deposit on every single job. If a client ever pushes it back, say, hey, this is just how we do it here. We do it for every single person. You're not special. Every single person. It's a really good habit to get into.
Right. And don't forget the efficiency in regarding to pack your car before, get the gas before, and have an easy, effective process that way too.
Yes, I love that one. Yeah. Shanique, Chase, this is great. How do people find out more about you, Chase?
So if you guys want to learn more about growing and scaling your home service business, I run a coaching program, CMG University. Shoot me a message on Instagram. It is Chase_Gallagher_.
I love to have each and every one of you with me. If you follow me on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, Shanique Stewart, you could catch me there. I also have a Cleaning Boss Accelerator if you want to start and grow your cleaning business.
Great. Well, Chase, Shanique, thanks for being here. We're going to continue this conversation in part 2, but until then, you guys are having a huge impact on your communities. Thanks for being here and keep it up.
I love it.
Thank you, Adam.
And thank you for listening. I hope you heard something that will make your business more profitable and more efficient. I'm your host, Adam Sylvester. You can find me at adamsylvester.com. Your team and your clients deserve your very best, so go give it to them.